Chapter 6, Solid Modeling Using Constructive Solid Geometry. Our learning objectives will be understanding constructive solid geometry concepts, creating a binary tree, understanding the basic Boolean operations, creating solids using AutoCAD primitive solids, generate shaded solid images, and use the steering wheel. Okay, in the 1980s, one of the main advancements in solid modeling was the development of CSG, Constructive Solid Geometry. It describes the solid models as combinations of basic three-dimensional shapes. They're called primitive solids. The basic solids are a rectangular prism, like a block, a cylinder, a cone, a sphere, and a torus, like a donut. Two solid objects can be combined into one object in various ways using operation known as Boolean operations. There are three basic Boolean operations. There is join, which is union, cut, which is the difference or subtract, and intersect, which is the intersection of two solid objects. Okay. We're going to take a primitive solid here. For example, we have a cylinder and a box. We can put them here and we can either join them and make one solid object out of it. We could do the intersection between those two, or we can cut them or subtract them. Okay, the CSG is also referred to as the method used to store a solid model in a database. The resulting solid can be easily represented by what is called a binary tree. In a binary tree, the terminal branches, leaves, are the various primitives that are linked together to make the final solid object the root. Okay, the binary tree is an effective way to keep track of the history of the resulting solid. By keeping track of the history, the solid model can be rebuilt by relinking through the binary tree. And here's our binary tree. Okay, so let's go into AutoCAD and we're going to open up our metric template. I'm going to go to model and I'm in the top view. Okay, and we're going to start off by creating a box. And I'm going to go up here and you'll see on the top level under home we have modeling, and we have a box, extrude, polysolid, and press pull. If you hit the little down arrow in the box, you'll see we have a box, a cylinder, a cone, a sphere, a pyramid, a wedge, and a torus. Okay, we're going to pick a box. Okay, and we're just going to pick a spot anywhere, and we're going to type in at 70. Oops, that's right the first time. 75, comma 50. Okay, and you'll see our box there. Now you'll see we're not done. Since we're doing a three-dimensional object, we need to put a height on it, and the height they ask us for there, and we're going to say 15. Okay, so here is our solid object. If I go to Southeast Isometric View, I can see that I have my solid there. Now the book also has us make a new layer. So go up to layer, make a new one. It's called solid underscore object, I believe. Okay, and they made the color cyan, so we'll do that too. Okay, we'll make that our present layer. Now, of course, I didn't put those on there, so I'm going to highlight it and I'm going to put them on cyan, our solid object. Okay. Alright, and apparently I didn't put the right color there either, so let's go and try that one more time. And that looks much better. Okay, so now you see that we made a solid block, okay, or a box. If I go up to hidden, you'll see that unlike the ones we had done in the last two chapters, this is a solid. Okay, it is a solid object. Okay, I'm going to go back to Southeast Isometric. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to create, okay, on, see, where is it on page 6-2, the guide block design, in case we didn't see that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a cylinder. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to go up here to hidden. I'm going to make this into a 2D wireframe because I need some of these entities. And I'm going to go up to cylinder. Okay, I'm going to start at the midpoint there, and I bring it over all the way to the end point there. Okay, again, now it wants to know the height. I'm going to drag it in this direction, and I'm going to put 40. Okay, so now again, you'll see that we have, if I do a hidden, okay, we still have two objects there. So what we want to do is we want to make them into one solid object. Okay, and then to do that, we go to union or join, and that's right up here. Okay, and you'll see a solid union, and then I pick each one. Doesn't matter what you pick when. Okay, and you'll see that now we have one object. If I go into hidden, okay, again, I have one object here. Okay, I'm going to go back to 2D wireframe. Now we're going to put that hole that's in the top by putting another cylinder in, and this time we're going to subtract them. Okay, so I'm going to go to cylinder. I want to put it at the center. Okay, and here they tell us that that radius value is 15, and that we're going to go down. Okay, and I'm just going to drag it so it's down there, and I'm going to go 50. Okay. All right, now if I look at this as a solid though, if I do hidden, okay, it looks like that's there, but you can see that there's two different objects. But if I go to realistic, you'll see that that hole isn't showing up. Okay, so I need to go back into 2D wireframe. Now what I need to do is I need to subtract them. Okay, so I'm going to go up here to solid, subtract. Now you need to pick the one you want to subtract from first. So the bigger object, I hit enter, and what I want to subtract from that is this cylinder here. Okay, and you'll see that now we have subtracted that cylinder. We did the Boolean operation. I'm going to go into hidden, and you can see if I go around that, now we have a hole in there. Okay, you can see that there's a hole in that object. Okay, just going to go back and make sure I'm in the southeast isometric view. Okay, now we're going to put that slot in there, and we're going to start off by putting a circle or a cylinder, okay, and then subtract it again so we have a hole in it. So I'm going to go to cylinder, okay, I'm going to do shift from, okay, and I'm going to pick this endpoint right here, and I'm going to type in at -30. Let me make sure I'm doing the right one. I don't think I am. -30, yes it is right, comma 25. Okay, there is my hole. Okay, it wants to know the diameter. The diameter is, or I'm sorry, the radius it's asking for. The radius is 10. Then I'm just going to drag it down so it's down past the bottom somewhere. It doesn't really matter because I'm going to be subtracting this. I'm going to go up to subtract again, pick the big object, and then what I want to subtract from it. Okay, now I can see that I have a hole in that object. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to create another box, and then we're going to manipulate it a little bit so you can see how to use a couple of different commands, and then we're going to cut that away. Alright, so first thing they tell us to is to make sure that our dynamic UCS is off, and that's down here if it's showing. Dynamic UCS, make sure it's off. If you don't see it, you can go here to these 3 lines and you'll see Dynamic UCS. The check mark means it is down here. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that's off. Okay, and we're going to create another box. Okay, and it tells us that we're going to pick the endpoint here. Okay, and we're going to do at -30, comma 30 right there, and that we're going to go down, and this is going to be 20. Okay, so we have that box sitting there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take and we're going to rotate that box around so that it is rotated 90 degrees. Okay, so we're going to go up here to this one right here, which is 3D rotate. I'm going to pick that object. Now it wants to know where I want to start that. I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to revolve around this endpoint right here. Okay, and you'll see that I have 3 different rings here. I have a blue one that is going to go around, and notice that's blue here. That's your Z direction. So if I highlight it, it's going to rotate it around that axis. Here is the X, which is the red one. You'll see that's the red here. And then the Y, which is the green one here. Okay, so we're going to rotate around the red axis. So I'm going to go here until I pick the red one. Now we want an angle. We're going to put 90 degrees. Okay, so you'll see when we hit enter, that's going to rotate that. Okay, and it did. It rotated it up like that. Okay. All right, now we're going to reposition it. So we're going to pick move. Actually, has us pick the box first, then pick move. Okay, and it wants us to pick the top front corner. I'm assuming it's this one here. And then we're going to type in at 0, 15, -20. Okay, which now puts that right there. Okay, so I'm going to zoom, I'm going to pan around a little bit so you can see that that box sitting there is going through that circle. Now what we're going to do is we're going to subtract that box from the big object. So I'm going to go back to subtract, pick the object, hit enter, pick this one. Okay, and now we have our object. If we go to realistic, okay, we can see that we have a nice little shape there. Okay, we're also going to take a look at the steering wheel. Okay, and the steering wheel is over here, and that's for navigating. Okay, so you can see I can go here to orbit, for example, and hold it, and it'll zoom around wherever I had that. I can go here to center, and then maybe put right there, and that will center that location right there. I can pan, I can zoom, I can go up and down. Okay, there's a whole bunch of stuff I can do with this. Okay, and I'm just going to close that circle. Okay, that is the beginning of using solids. Okay, and that is the end of that lesson.